Hello YouTube. So a while back I bought one of these 6-position switches off of Amazon. It looks identical to the potentiometer that's on the front of your Taranis. This one on the left here basically snaps into position. So it'll report out basically a consistent singular value for each of the 6 positions. And it's really handy for using with Mission Planner, iNav, programs like that, for setting your flight modes, because typically, at least in Mission Planner, you get 6 flight modes, and 6 flight modes, 6 positions is typically more than enough to kind of cycle through all the different flight modes that you would want to set up in one of your models. Now, there is a slight challenge in using one of these switches, at least the one I found on Amazon right out of the box, at least when you're pairing it with Mission Planner. And that challenge is that if you flick through all the settings, I'm open in Mission Planner and I've just got my computer hooked up to my little Nano Goblin with a flight controller in it. This is where I'm getting my Mission Planner data from, right from a flight controller. This is bound to my radio, and I'll just flick through right now. Right now I'm in setting 1, setting 2, setting 3, 4, 5, and 6. And as you can see, we're not hitting all of the different flight modes that we want. And 3 of the positions just report out flight mode 6. So if we look at what's going on here, this is the output curve for each of the settings on this switch. And what's happening basically is that the first 5 modes are getting crammed up in the upper half of the switch output, and the last point is kind of stretched all the way at the bottom. And if we compare that against the flight modes available, at least in the predefined bins in Mission Planner, we're just not allowed to get the points where we need them. Ideally, what we would have is we would have 1 point in each of the bins, kind of like shown here. So that's really our goal, is to spread the points evenly across the map and kind of make sure that 1 point ends up in each bin. And doing that's pretty simple. You essentially have to just assign a curve, and that's what I'll show you how to do quick today. Alright, so I'm over here at my radio, and the first thing I'm going to do, so you can see I'm already set up in Mission Planner. This switch is already mapped. It's mapped to channel 7. If we go over to the radio, let's just go there and show you where I've mapped that out. So go to our model setup. And here in our mixer, we have channel 7, and where we used to have potentiometer 1, now it's our 6-position switch, which is an S1 slot. So one thing you can do in the outputs screen if you want is you can actually see what the switch is outputting in PWM live if you just go to the channel. So right now I've got the channel 7 selected. If I go through all the different switch settings, you can kind of see what the radio says it's going to output and compare that versus what Mission Planner is seeing. In this case, I'm just going to go off of the values in Mission Planner, and that's the best way to do this. You don't need this screen to move forward. What you're going to need is the output of the switch in percent. So let's actually exit our setup. So we're back to the home screen. Let's page over until we see our channel monitor. And this is going to be important because it's going to give us our channel 7 output, not in terms of PWM signal, but in terms of percentage. So what you're going to want to do here is just go through each of your switch settings and make note of what the percentage output is at each setting. So I'm at setting 1, this is 100%. Setting 2, 62%. Setting 3, 52%. Setting 4, 35%. Setting 5, 2%. And setting 6 is at minus 100%. So I'm going to write down each of those values in terms of percent, and that's going to be basically, you'll see we'll feed those into our custom curve when we're setting up the curve for the switch. Right, so now I've made note of those. Let's exit out. And we're going to go back to model setup. And this time we're going to go over first to curves. And it doesn't matter which one of these we select because we can assign any curve to any of our setups, but we'll just select curve 1 because it's open. For type, you want to make sure that custom is selected, and what that means is that you get custom X points. If I just have this at standard, when you go over, you're not going to be able to edit your X points. So make sure that that's set up at custom. Our count is going to be 6 points because we have 6 positions on our switch. And now we can go in and edit all of our points. So the one thing about this is your first and last points are hard-coded at -100 and +100. That makes sure that your scale is set across your entire range. If your position 1 and position 6 on your switch are not -100 and +100, then you're just going to have to make sure that you add extra points to account for that. So what I'm going to do then now is I'm just going to go through and I'm going to enter all of the X positions that I recorded from before in terms of percentage. Okay, so switch setting 1 was at 100%. I'm going to leave 100 alone. The next setting was 62. Oops, we want to edit our X. 62%. Next is going to be setting 3. So setting 3 is going to be 52%. Switch setting 4, 35%. Setting 5 is at 2%, +2. And then my only negative is the -100. All right, so that's half of it done. Now that we have our X's assigned, what we're going to want to actually do now is assign curve 1 to our switch. So what we've got to do now is exit out of here. And we're going to go back, hold page long to go back, hold it again to go back. And we want to go to our mixer again. And in our channel 7 for switch 1, we're going to edit this now and assign it a curve. So right now curve is just set to function. We're going to change that to be custom. And the custom curve we're going to assign is curve 1. So if we look over in Mission Planner, we can see that setting that curve instantly set our channel 7 to be outputting 1495. And that's because we haven't done anything with the Y's of our curve. So if we go back over to our curve in the radio, we can exit the mixer. We'll page back over. So here's our curve, and all of our Y's are 0. So that means that anywhere we set the switch, if I cycle through, yeah, nothing is going to change in Mission Planner. So now the curve is controlling the switch. We have to just go through each of the switch settings that we know from what our X settings are and just tell it what we want to output with the Y. So let's go over, go down until we have our Y selected. And I'm going to keep going down until I have switch setting 1's Y selected. And I'm going to make sure that the switch is in that setting. That's setting 1. So I'm going to select it. And I'm going to start ticking down into the direction that I want it to be. So I noticed that as soon as I started ticking down, the flight mode started selecting towards the right direction. Basically, you can see that 1300, that's ticking down. That's going towards the 0 to 1230 range. That's what we want. So I want this to be flight mode 1. So now we're in flight mode 1. I'm just going to keep going a little bit so that there's a little bit of margin. And I'm going to call that good. So we're at -69% for our first setting. Then I'm going to go to my second switch setting. I know that's 62%. I'm going to make sure that my switch is set to 62. Mission Planner is going to read that as 0 right now because I haven't changed it yet. So that's good. And now I'm just going to start editing it. And I know I have to go negative. This time I'm going to go between 1231 and 1360, and I'm there. Same thing with position 3. Select position 3 on the switch, and we'll edit position 3 on the curve. And we are in the right bin. Perfect. Position 4. Make sure 4 is selected. It's already at 1495. I'm going to just tick that up a little bit more positive just to give it some margin. And that looks good. Position 5. And then finally position 6. And make sure my switch is in position 6 so that I can see it in Mission Planner. And we're looking pretty good there. So now just to verify, because your X's are not perfectly lined up with your switch output, so you just want to make sure there can be some shifting that happens when you edit another point. So some of the points they're not completely independent, I guess is what I'm saying. So just to make sure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So that's it. Really simple. You can see the shape that it took to get us out of this kind of weird shape that was already programmed into the switch. But really simple, and that gets you to a point where you can use all of the different flight modes in Mission Planner. One more thing that's a really good idea to do with these switches is just add a slight delay. I've added a 0.7 delay for switching both up and down. And really what this is going to do is just make sure that when you switch the switch between different positions, that you give it some time between changes. What will actually happen is, instantaneously the switch will go really high or low, and I can actually show you what happens by eliminating these timers. So yeah, if you watch what happens now in Mission Planner. Yep, there it happened. So sometimes when you're going between channels, it'll jump to, looks like 1130, which basically will jump you into manual mode really instantaneously before it will go to the intended position. So just adding this delay gives you time to find the right position, gives the switch time to find home before sending that signal out. So that's a good thing to have for this switch too. So really that's it. Really quick, really easy to do, but basically lets you have pretty good control over setting the output points on your switch and know and be sure that you're going to hit the right flight modes when you command it to. And it lets you set a good amount of buffer. You can set those points right in the middle of the bins too. Not as big of an issue on iNav because I know you can set the ranges, but on Mission Planner they're firm. You can't change these ranges in Mission Planner, so it's nice to be able to do it in the radio. Hope that was helpful. Bye.